Hello, Dr. Nick Mabbott from Beyond Midnight Consulting, and I'm very pleased to bring you this session on balancing sleep, work and home life for those of you who are fly in, fly out, drive in, drive out, or bus in, bus out. Those of you who commute at the start and end of a roster cycle, be it 7 on, 7 off, or 14 and 7, it doesn't really matter. But here are my best tips and advice for living the dream, doing all of that very hard work, but also coming home energized, charged up, and a good partner and a good parent. For starters, organize your roster, have it displayed at home so that all family members can see and are aware of what day shifts you're working, what night shifts you're working if you do work nights, and the upcoming roster days off. Now here's something that I'm very strong on. When you start day shift, if you're driving in, if you're flying in, then you normally have to have a very early start. And if you're driving in, you also need a very early start. And the problem, of course, with that is some people who do live, pardon me, a fair drive away may have to get up at, say, 1 or 2 in the morning to drive to work. And if you do that, it would be very unlikely that you would get more than 3 or 4 hours of sleep. That puts you at extreme danger risk on the road, because anything less than 5 hours of sleep seriously increases your risk of a fatigue crash on the way to work. And in fact, out of the 20 crashes that I've analysed for WA Police, 13 of the drivers had 5.5 or less hours of sleep the night before the crash. One of the other drivers had undiagnosed sleep apnea, which also reduces your sleep quality down to possibly the equivalent of only 2 or 3 hours worth of sleep. What I highly recommend, and I do this sometimes when I am flying to different sites around Australia, I like to arrive in the afternoon prior to day shift number 1. And the reason for that is if I can get there for 5 or 6, have a meal at the camp, and get a good night's sleep in bed, then my start of day shifts is incredibly good because I can pack in a good 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Now, I know a lot of people at this point will be thinking, yeah, but then I've got to give up a whole afternoon and evening with my family. Yes, that is correct, but consider this trade-off. Your last evening at home is often not great because there is this thing called separation anxiety. The whole family feels it, you feel it, people get a bit agitated, grumpy, anxious, and that can cause small arguments or some quite heated arguments, which is not good for your relationship, not good for your sleep. And also, with the little bit of anxiety of knowing that you've got to get up so early in the morning, it is incredibly hard to get to sleep. That's called sleep anxiety. Combination of those couple of things puts you at an incredible risk of not even making it to work. And I would love to reduce that on the roads as much as I can. What I suggest is say goodbye to the family, get to camp at about 5 or 6 p.m, even 7 p.m. is okay. Make sure you get a room, get a meal, have yourself a great sleep, and don't start day shift 1 with a sleep debt. Now, I recently examined some data from eye monitoring devices in haul trucks, and just from looking at the data from across the different days of the weeks, I was able to identify what is the start day for day shift and night shift because there were spikes in eye monitoring captures of critical events. And this means that people are starting off with a big sleep debt, and it's very hard to pay that back at work, of course. And of course, it leads to some dangerous parts of your day as well. Now, if you don't start your roster with a sleep debt, the good chance is you can go home without a sleep debt and be the best person you can be when you get home to your family, and they will really appreciate seeing this beautiful person coming home happy, energized, and full of love. And that's really what you want. Now, when you finish your roster cycle on a day shift, if you can make it home within a couple of hours, that's fantastic. But if your work day and the amount of time that you spend awake before your work day and your drive exceeds 16 hours, I highly recommend just having a meal, having a really good sleep, and maybe getting up at 5 in the morning after having a really good sleep, and then driving home very safely in the morning, in the daylight, and again, getting home to your family in the absolute best condition. Now, when you're going in, flying, driving, or busing in for a night shift, again, very important to arrive in a good position to, again, not take sleep debt into night shift number one. And again, I saw that in that data that I analysed recently. You could tell that some people were either flying or driving or busing in to this site, not getting an afternoon nap and going straight to work. And these people were having moderate and critical eye closure events through the night. What I recommend, the night before your first night shift at home, have a normal, good 7 to 8 hours sleep. Maybe get up at 5 or 6 in the morning and do a few chores, whatever you need to do. Get behind you so that you can feel good about going away. I would definitely arrive at camp by lunchtime. Have a feed of melatonin-based foods, and I can actually help you out with that too. At 1 p.m. in your camp room, have it nice and cool. Have a shower at about 10 to 1, nice warm shower. Step out into the coolness of your nice dark room. Have a 3-hour, what we call prophylactic nap. And that 3 hours of sleep will buy you an additional 6 hours of brain energy on top of what you already created sleeping through the night before. And this will give you the best position to be in to start night shift one. And if you can do that and get that 3 hours sleep, it's almost a guarantee that you'll have hardly any concerns about eye closures in the workplace. I mean, there's still that opportunity, but the risk is so much lower with that additional 6 hours of brain energy gained from the 3 hours of sleep. Now, of course, if you start off night shift good, we know that after about night 3, you do start sleeping better. And there's also a YouTube video called Number 21, Shift Work Transitions, where I talk about eating better breakfast so that you get up to 7 hours sleep every day. And of course, then you are less likely to carry a sleep debt through your run of night shifts. Driving home at the end of your night shifts, I would consider a 3-hour sleep as soon as you get back to camp. Have a very, very light breakfast. Make sure it's got some melatonin base in it. Just go and hit the sack for 3 hours or 4.5 hours. The reason I say 3 or 4.5 is 3 hours is 2 complete cycles of sleep. And if you've only got a couple of hours drive home, that 3 hour will almost certainly help you with a good journey management plan get home safely. Now, if you're driving 4 or 5 or 6 hours, I would consider nothing less than a 4.5 hour sleep, because that will wipe off most of your sleep debt for that day. And then that night, if you stay awake through the afternoon, you only need a normal sleep plus 3 hours to pay back your whole sleep debt. That is the best way to do it. Yes, you are sacrificing a little bit of time from your family by going in early and leaving late, but you are highly increasing your chances of getting home safely, and also in a better condition, happier, and in much, much better moods, and less likely to have to repay sleep debts. So don't forget to check out 21 sleep work transitions, shift work transitions, and check out the book, because that's all there. If you'd like a copy, contact me through my website and I can post you one. They cost $22 including GST, or if your business wants a large amount, contact me directly and I will give you a discount. Also, there is a lot of YouTube videos, webinars and podcasts. If you click that QR code behind me, that will take you there and you can learn a lot about fatigue management. Hopefully one day I'll see you at your site and you'll be in great condition, and I know I will be too, because